What do we have on the agenda for episode 1? AI. I mean specifically agentic coding and vibe coding, as people like to call it. I'm not going to talk about the ethics or morals with using AI, the environmental impact. I'm not an expert on any of that, so this is just going to be solely about the action of using agentic coding in your workflow. The main thing about agentic coding is it makes it a lot quicker to develop things like MVPs, but I do think people need to be very cautious about using this agentic code and going straight into production. I should list the agentic coding tools. The main one that I have used before and I know that a lot of people use is Cursor. It's a fork of VS Code, which is an IDE that I'm very familiar with and lots of other people are going to be familiar with. And you can take that and essentially talk to the LLM and it will generate code for you. So you could tell it to build your React app and all those sorts of things. I think it's perfect for that. Building simple layout, styling it simply, like if you're just doing a quick MVP or a quick project, you don't need to think about any of the CSS. But I do think it will struggle with very complex designs. I have granted myself occasionally given it certain like Figma designs and mockups and sort of things like that, and it does kind of struggle with it. It does still hallucinate. It may not also have the full context of a stack, so that's where a developer will need to still sit in place and give it extra context or manually make changes if you need. One thing I think people should not do, you should always try and avoid this, is just straight up talking to the LLM, getting it to generate the code, running the code. It works, you don't review the code, and you're done. That's an awful practice. By doing that, you can allow lots of vulnerabilities and security risks. So if you're building very important systems, that's just a no-go. If you're vibe coding a banking app, that is an awful idea. If you're just doing a to-do list, that's perfectly fine. If you are going to just straight up use the agentic mode in Cursor to just full on generate code or modify your code, you have to make sure to review all the changes that it does and make sure that makes sense. It's code that you would write. If it's doing too much, I think you should make it do less. I think sometimes it's very verbose and that will just put a bit of a burden on people who are reviewing that code. Personally, my favorite way of using it is just staying within the context of a specific file and kind of using the code autocomplete. And in more complex cases, I will use the chat mode of Cursor and just speak to it, get it to give me whatever information, and then I will actually go through that information, make sure it's correct, and then put it in. So I'm not just outsourcing my thinking to the AI and getting it to do everything for me. I'm actually going to look at what it says, process that information, make sure it's the correct and right thing, and then I'll take that and implement it. In my opinion, I think it should be like a Stack Overflow replacement, not a coding replacement. It also takes my favorite part out of programming. So I don't want to fully rely on it because I'm just typing prompts. I enjoy what I do, so I'm going to have fun doing it. That's my personal thoughts on it. I think you should not just straight up pass everything over to the LLM. You should use it as kind of like a Google or Stack Overflow replacement and kind of talk to it, take what it does and use it to either fix your code, implement new features. I think it does struggle in areas. It may not produce the most efficient code. It might be working code that will have vulnerabilities and security risks. It might be code that is taking up too much memory or too much resources. It will not have the full context of a stack you're working on. So if you've got multiple repos, it won't really know what you've got in the other repo and will try to make changes that do not really apply in your current repo. But yeah, in short, I think use agentic coding to your advantage. Don't use it fully to just take your mind away from whatever you're doing. If you got a pull request, you want to be able to actually explain what the AI is doing and not just say, oh, the AI did this. You are still responsible for your LLM's code. So you should try and treat it as if it was your own code. If it's code you would not be proud of, don't commit it. Modify it. Yeah, I do want to still test out this with lots of stuff. I'll have a video on that probably soon. I'm going to give it a bunch of challenges, complex CSS, very simple tasks, React frameworks and stuff like that. Low level stuff, assembly. Embedded programming is somewhere I think it would struggle because it doesn't have the context of the hardware. You could try and provide that context and see how well it does, but I don't know. We'll see. That's all, I guess. If you got any questions about this or any ideas for things you want me to cover, just put them in the comments below. And I guess that's all. Subscribe for more.